Interesting news and potentially bad news for anybody who is a fan of the Jupiter's Legacy Netflix show, which I actually was. Um, it is canceled after one season. There will not be a season two as of right now. And we're going to dive into this a little bit. It's almost 3 in the morning. I should either be working on my book or going to bed, but I watched a brief video from Conan where Timothy Oliphant was talking about how he gets mixed up with Josh Duhamel, who is the star of Jupiter's Legacy. And yeah, I ended up here. So, in the show, Jupiter's Legacy is 8 episodes on Netflix, and I'll keep it spoiler free, I think. But it definitely ended with a cliffhanger. It definitely set up for multiple seasons, and I liked it. I liked the ending. I thought it was pretty good. I really wanted to see what was going to happen with certain characters, and I thought they were doing a good job of building a foundation, as opposed to just kind of like rushing into it blind and making a bunch of stupid bullshit and then trying to backpedal later on. And yeah, I guess they're not renewing it for season 2. However, here's the interesting news. Super Crooks is another property that was written by Mark Millar, the creator of Jupiter's Legacy, and it sounds like Netflix is giving them the green light, or the order, if you will, to make Super Crooks a live-action film. And it sounds like they're starting an anthology series, which is going to tie into the Jupiter's Legacy world and franchise we've gotten to know a little bit. So, I don't know, I have mixed feelings on that. It's really crazy for me to hear about, like, hey, we put out this new superhero series, and it's based on a comic and blah 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 blah, and people get into it, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, for whatever reason it didn't perform the way we wanted it to. And I always heard good things about it. I thought it performed well. Obviously Netflix kind of, they don't really share that stuff with the public, but I'm actually very surprised to hear that they canceled it, and kind of bummed. But anyway, it's crazy that they're not going to renew this for season 2. Meanwhile, you have other shows. Now, I know, 2 totally different companies, different franchises. This is Netflix, and then you look at the CW. And the CW, it's like they're trying to... It's like the scene from The Dark Knight where the Joker just lights all the cash on fire. And I feel like that's the CW. By the way, there's a really cool video where somebody did the rough math looking at the measurements of that pyramid of money, and they calculated that would easily be billions of dollars. So Joker is technically a billionaire in The Dark Knight. Really cool video. It's fascinating. Anyway, yeah, so you have shows like Batwoman on the CW. So Ruby Rose, she left that, and she's got different reasons for saying, she says different reasons as to why she left, but most likely she left because the show was trash and the ratings were trash, and she didn't want it to ruin her career. Side note again, this is what happens at 3 in the morning. Tangents. I just watched another fucking video that the guy was saying it was the worst movie of 2021, and he did a breakdown of a movie called Vanquish with Morgan Freeman, I don't know how, and Ruby Rose, and it was so disturbingly, painfully awful to watch. It was entertaining watching his breakdown and his analysis and, critique, but holy fuck was that bad. I don't even know how that came to exist. So, yeah, Ruby Rose, you might just be screwed. Your career might just be done. I think the highlight of your career is probably like Orange is the New Black. Anyway. Yeah, Ruby Rose left Batwoman, and then they hired Javicia Leslie, who is now currently playing Batwoman in season 2. And apparently, I don't actually watch the show. I will never watch the show. I watch Heels versus Babyface's critiques of the show, or not even critiques, but just not even reviews. They're just discussions, because they're highly entertaining because of how worked up he gets as over on that channel. But that fucking show, their lead fucking quit. So then they hired somebody else to take the lead, and we won't even get into all that right now. But anyway, the ratings you can actually watch on a weekly basis whenever that show airs. Typically, the trajectory is just down, down, down. The show is getting worse and worse and worse. And somehow, that motherfucking shit was renewed for season 3. So it's kind of a bummer. The show Jupiter's Legacy, it was pretty solid in my opinion. It wasn't the best show I've ever seen, but it was entertaining. I liked the characters. It was exciting. It was cool to see, and it's kind of a bummer that they didn't even say, hey guys, we're going to give you like a send off. We're pulling the plug. I was a big fan of the show The Newsroom on HBO, and granted, I didn't get into it until honestly the last year because I had some downtime, but I was like, this show, I actually really genuinely like it. I wonder why it got canceled. And I was looking into it, and it wasn't getting the ratings that they wanted or the viewers that they wanted. And they said, okay, we're going to give you like a season 3 to just wrap it up and do everything you wanted to do. I respect that. This is an HBO show. So Netflix, it basically told all the people from season 1, Josh Duhamel and Leslie Bibb and them, hey, you guys aren't contractually obligated anymore. You can go your own way. We don't need you right now. And again, they're exploring this other property that is loosely tied in. It sounds like I don't know a ton about Super Crooks and Jupiter's Legacy, but that's why I said interesting news. It's not necessarily bad news, although it is kind of a bummer. It is kind of bad news. But yeah, I'm on Variety.com, and it says Super Crooks is set within the same world as Jupiter's Legacy and will follow supervillains just as Jupiter's Legacy followed superheroes, with Netflix positioning the new show as the next installment in an anthology series. There's also a Super Crooks anime series coming to Netflix, so, okay, this is probably going to tie into, that. They want to try to milk this for all they can get. But yeah, Mark Millar is still working closely with Netflix. I think in 2017, they started working together. I think Netflix bought MILLARWORLD or something like that. So yeah, Netflix acquired MILLARWORLD in 2017 in its first ever acquisition, with plans to develop both film and TV projects. Jupiter's Legacy was the first project to come out of that deal. It was recently announced that the planned Magic Order series adaptation was back in development at the streamer, along with several other MILLARWORLD properties. Again, that's Variety.com. So, let's see here really quick. Jupiter's Legacy star Josh Duhamel, Ben Daniels, Leslie Bibb, blah, blah, blah. Received poor reviews from critics with a 38% critical approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, though audiences gave the show 72% approval. Who fucking listens to these critics? These critics can go fucking... I almost said something mean. But most of these guys, or most of these individuals, are fucking losers, and they're probably just people who, failed in film school or graduated film school and couldn't get a job, so... Nobody gives a shit about you guys. Rotten Tomatoes, you're not what you once were. I think you're kind of trash now. But anyway, let me know what you think. Were you really liking the show, Jupiter's Legacy? Did you want to see a season 2? If you haven't watched it yet, do you even care to watch season 1 now that you know season 2 isn't happening? Are you a fan of Super Crooks? Do you care that this is becoming an anthology series? Do you support that? Anyway, drop a comment. Let me know. I love talking with you guys. And yeah, I should go to bed. It's 2:48 in the morning. I'll talk to you later. Bye.